exclusive interview. Welcome to the show, let's have some fun. Sweep Unplugged starts now.
All right, welcome everybody to another Sweep Unplugged. It's Rudy Compost Jr. Again, be sure to go to our YouTube page. All you gotta do is go to YouTube, search Sweep the League TV, be a subscriber where you're gonna get Sweep Unplugged interviews, Sweep Unplugged live, like we had recently with Chuck Van Show. You're getting Sweep the League TV with myself, Coach Gio, and Derek Irvin, Best Boys Podcast. You get everything there. Be sure to go to Sweep the League TV on YouTube, be a subscriber. What do we have today? We have another great Sweep Unplugged for you guys out there. We're going to be talking to the CEO of Asensei, Mr. Stephen Webster. And you're wondering, what is this one going to be all about? Well, you know how we talk about sports. We talk about innovative. We talk about technology. We talk everything. Well, guess what? This is all combined into one here. We're blessed to have Mr. Stephen Webster join us. And we're not going to waste any more time like we do here on Sweep Unplugged. Let's bring him on here, the CEO of Asensei, Mr. Stephen Webster. Steve, welcome to Sweep the League, sir. How are you doing?
I'm very well, thank you. Thanks for having me, Rudy.
Yeah, no problem. No problem. You got a very impressive resume, especially in the martial arts background. Now, to give everybody a basic idea, you are the CEO and founder of Asensei, leading technology that uses the motion capture of human movement recognition to power personalized, connected health and fitness experiences. Can you give everybody just a basic background on you on that? Because this is something that, as the world just continues to evolve, technology is going to start evolving with the growth of the world as well.
No, for sure. I mean, super quickly, I've got these two kind of parallel threads that have kind of run through my life. One is technology and the other is sport, right?
Mhm.
And so on the technology side, I grew up around technology. My dad was an electronics engineer. I was like one of the first kids in my town to have a computer in the house. So it was kind of inevitable I would go off to university and study, computing and computer science and electronics. And so I did that. I studied at University of Edinburgh in Scotland. But at the same time, like many of us, I was that kid that grew up playing a ton of sport. But the sports or the activities that I was kind of disproportionately obsessed by, I guess, were martial arts. So first judo and then Ju Jitsu. And when I went to university, I wanted to play sport. I wanted to compete for a team. I wanted to do a martial art. And there were two karate clubs. And so I kind of like asked both the clubs, like, who wins the most medals? And they were like, this club over here. I was like, all right, I want to be on that team. And so I joined the karate club. I was already a black belt in Ju Jitsu when I joined the Edinburgh Shukokai Karate Club. But very quickly I was competing. I captained and ultimately coached the club for over a decade to 10 national championships. So martial arts has always been kind of part of my DNA. Coaching has always been part of my DNA. And as I coach, I got to live that. I got to live the problem that Asensei solves from both sides. So as an athlete, I wanted to train with the best coaches in the world. I wanted to learn from all these different coaches, and I could bring coaches to my club for a weekend and teach my club and teach me, but then I wouldn't see them for another 6 months. So how do you keep training and how do you keep practicing what you've learned? And how do you remember if you're doing things correctly when they're not there coaching you? And then I experienced that as a coach as well. I would have students who would disappear for the summer, or we would, disappear permanently, but still want to kind of train, not disappear permanently, but, go and do their PhD at another university. And they wanted to be coached by me remotely. And I think any of us that have ever tried to learn any physical exercise, whether it's sport or fitness or do our physical therapy at home, it's really hard to do it. Even if you've been shown how to do it by someone, to go away with a book or go away with physical therapy, go away with like printouts or drawings of your exercises, or learn from a DVD or a video. It's just a really hard thing to do. And so long story short, the problem I recognized needed to be solved is a machine needs to understand human movement the same way a machine can understand speech and speak back to us today. We needed to do the same for movement. Is if a machine can understand that Stephen and he's doing a squat, or he's doing a reverse punch or a roundhouse kick, or he's swinging a baseball bat, and now I can explain to the machine not only what is he doing, but how well is he doing it, then I create the technology that can allow us to kind of intervene and bring coaching on the behalf of a coach that's not actually there. we want to put the voice of a coach in your ear. So yeah, if I was to give you the pitch in 10 seconds, I lived in a future where my son would be out kind of shooting basketballs and he'd have the voice of Steph Curry in his ear, just telling him, drop your elbow and square your hips a little bit more and try again. Great. Do 3 more of those. And so that's the future we wanted to will into the present.
That's a crazy concept in the sense that I'm talking probably 12 years ago. Now, where you are a fourth degree black belt and a second degree black belt, and again, you mentioned the 10 consecutive national championships you coached to. Let's not forget. Let's throw this in there as well because the same team won 8 more titles after that. So you left an amazing legacy behind there.
I appreciate it.
The thing is, like 12 years ago, see where you got the martial arts background. I'm more in the world of bowling. That was my biggest thing growing up, and yeah, I love bowling, and I was good for a second there. Then the other second happened, and I just became terrible. But I always talked to these national coaches that I knew when I lived in Ohio for a little bit, and I said, it's kind of cool. You set up a camera, and you're a coach across the seas, and you're one of the best coaches in the world. Can you actually look at a person bowl and figure it out? And they say, yeah, we actually have. It's called the bird's eye. And now you have a lot of coaches that they have angles, they have cameras, they set you up, everything. But I wanted it more, and it's similar to what you say. I figured, okay, can you run sensors on the bowling ball, just for practice to where, okay, the ball does this, the ball does that. But also you took it a step further where you said, Steph Curry's in your ear. You may want to tuck in your elbow. You may want to spread your palm a little bit. You may want to just flick the wrist a little bit harder.
Right.
That kind of technology not only goes for, man, not for kids, but all the way up to the pro athlete. Because sometimes as a batter, you go through batting slumps and you have no idea why. So is this a type a sensei? Is it something to where we may see professional sports actually take over and say, okay, what? Because remember, human characteristics, we can't catch everything. The human eye can't catch everything, but a sensei looks like it's going to be that part of technology where even the coaches are going to be like, I didn't catch that. Let's try this. Is that where we're kind of going towards when it comes to a sensei?
I mean, 100%. I mean, I often, if you were a venture capitalist and I was trying to squeeze some money out of you right now,
I got $50.
Yeah, well, I'll take it. But I always use companies like Dolby as an example of how you should think about a sensei, right? Like you cannot buy a product that has digital audio, whether it's a TV or whether it's a sound bar, even your car, where you're like, I want the one with Dolby Atmos. Like I know that Dolby inside that product means that it's the best imaginable audio experience. And that's how we envisage a sensei and always have, that we would be that ingredient technology that says, if you're using any digital product to support sport, fitness, or health, and it's powered by a sensei, I know that that stands for something. Now, we didn't aim at the professional sports market first, and lots of companies do. It feels kind of lucrative. Let's go after go after the NFL or go after the 49ers. I actually, like, the NFL were a client of mine in a past life at Adobe. One of my teams at Adobe built Sunday Night Football online. It was the very first time like you could watch a game from multiple camera angles online. And the thing I learned most about that project wasn't how to build a video player. It was that professional sports, you pay them for the privilege of doing the work. It's not the other way around. So
yeah.
So from a go-to-market perspective, professional sports is a very hard market to be in, which is why we kind of focused on the consumer first. And also as a coach, I'm very blessed that I'm the product of a lot of other great coaches that just gave their time to me, and for not a lot of money, they gave their time to me. So that's kind of where Asensei started, is like, how can we democratize access to world-class coaching so anybody can have it? But, to your question, I will say, rather than trickling down, we're trickling up into professional sports. And the use case is less about, who's going to be in Steph Curry's ear when he's like, who is that going to be? Maybe Kalen. But, our view in professional sports is more, and you kind of said this, it's that extra eye on the athlete. We call it the super coach, where, and we've done, I can't say who it was with, but with a Div 1 basketball team, they had cameras around the court where we're able to watch a player while they're at practice, but we're watching them with the intention of like, let's flag up things to the coaching staff if we see them. So for example, a player returning from injury, they might be doing kind of lateral moves, and you want to know how's their knee doing, or how, are they able to, have they got the stability in the ankle that we're looking for, or do they have good posture, or is there compensation that's happening? So you can imagine how all that unsupervised practice that they're doing on a court is being watched and is being ignored unless there's something to flag to the strength coach, or flag to the mobility coach, or flag to the PT. So I do think, pro sports teams will be using products powered by Asensei. Actually, one more example is, I don't know if you're familiar with Vertimax, the vertical jumping platform. You kind of strap in. Yeah. So they're one of our customers. And that platform doesn't have a battery in it, doesn't have a Bluetooth connection in it, doesn't have anything digital in it. But with just your smartphone now, anybody can kind of hook their smartphone up in front of the Vertimax. They can get coached in the correct technique and form for different types of vertical jump, and have their vertical measured by Asensei. We can track how far they've moved off the ground. So that's a great example of, we're going to see athletes just using experiences that are powered by Asensei, but I don't think for the pro sports, we're going to put the voice of a coach in their ear. They've got the best coaches in the world around them as part of the franchises that they belong to. Does that make sense?
Oh, it makes perfect sense right there. It makes perfect sense. And what's so awesome is the fact that the company Asensei, it seems like you said, it's not trickling down, it's going up, and it's always innovating, and it's always trying to find the next best thing to help athletes. And also to the next group of people that I wanted to get into, we are talking about Asensei with Mr. Stephen Webster, CEO and founder of Asensei. It's connecting a lot of athletes with AI, but also the health and fitness part. I know part of my story and my journey was, pre-COVID, I've always been a really big guy. I mean, we're talking pushing 500 pounds almost. I think I was like 478 was the most I've weighed. And after COVID, I got sick to the doc. I went to the doctor, and the famous words of, I don't know how you're alive still. You should have had 2 heart attacks by now. And I've changed everything and dropped a whole bunch of weight. But the AI part of Asensei, this is where I think, outside of athletics, the health and fitness part of Asensei, because you starting to see, more people wanting, I've seen it lately, more people wanting to jump on the health side and the fitness side. What can Asensei provide, using AI technology for health and fitness? Because not only the athletes are going to benefit from it, but the huge and the bigger market, I think, is that everyday person at home that just says, I don't have the motivation to do things, but if I have someone, in other words, I don't have the money for a coach to be on my ear and my butt the entire time, but I do have time for AI, which artificial intelligence would be on you 24/7 and never get tired.
No, there's so much to unpack in that question. I mean, the perhaps obvious thing is, when we get asked about healthcare, is physical therapy and virtual physical therapy. And, that was one of the industries, if you like, that was impacted hard by COVID. Is like, suddenly we can't go into the PT. And often it's the most vulnerable population that needs that PT. I mean, we think about PT as like, oh, I've hurt my back. But, a lot of our PT customers were prehabilitation, where they were, we did a partnership with the National Health Service in Scotland. Actually, I'm in California, but from Scotland originally. And with NHS Scotland, it was for patients that were about to receive like a major surgery, a transplant, an organ surgery, and the recognition that a regimen of physical therapy before surgery improved the outcome of the surgery. It kind of makes intuitive sense, right? You've just, you've prepared your body for what's about to come. But if you're about to have a heart transplant or a liver transplant, the last place you want to be in a pandemic is in a ward full of other sick people. And so that kind of asked the question, can we deliver PT as effectively at home as we would if there was an expert in the room? And so that's an area we're very engaged in. We've got customers in just kind of MSK, musculoskeletal injury. We also just signed a customer in the world of neurological rehab. So stroke patients trying to recover motor movement. And, how can we help them with physical therapy that they're performing at home? But I think the bigger part of your question is, There is a huge swathe of the population that knows they need to exercise, but cannot create the habit, cannot start that habit. It hurts, it sucks. I'm embarrassed to go to the gym. I think Planet Fitness, they coined a great phrase of gym intimidation. I've got that intimidation of going to the gym.
Yeah.
And so we see digital as an on-ramp for physical. So we think about, you may be intimidated to go to the gym today, but you wish you were in a boxing class, or you wish you were doing yoga, but you don't know how to. So all of us, man, like walking into a martial, I remember the day I walked into Edinburgh University Karate Club, and I was already a first-degree black belt in Ju Jitsu, and I was intimidated as hell. Like, what's this club going to be like? Am I going to get the crap kicked out of me? Like, let's test the black belt, And so, whichever sport it is, we're intimidated to walk into that facility. And so, a lot of our customers are starting to recognize that digital can be this at-home, self-guided. We can teach you exercises. If you've never done a squat to press before, Asensei can power an experience that breaks that. So Rudy, squat down. Good. Push your knees out a little more. Great. Okay, now stand up. Keep your thumbs at your shoulders. Press your arms overhead. Good. So we can kind of talk you through the movement and take the training wheels off, and then let you do it by yourself. And so for activities like yoga or Pilates or boxing, we can be this digital on-ramp that gets you the skills you need to lower that intimidation of going into a facility. But I'll also just quickly spotlight another customer. We have a customer called Alter, AlterMe, ALTERME.com. Bunch of repeat entrepreneurs and ex-Nike performance coaches and marketers and whatnot. It's the product that Nike should have built. It's a mirror that hangs on your wall, and then your reflection in that mirror. There's a coach there in the mirror with you, and it's super hyper personalized. Your on ramp to Alter is a DNA swab. That the DNA swab will discern things about your proclivity to certain types of exercise and when you might exercise and how you react to caffeine and sleep. So they're already thinking about how do we personalize the programming we're building for you. But then using Asensei, they're personalizing the training that you're getting. So we're watching, we're counting your reps, we're seeing how many reps you can do, we're adjusting your program, we're giving you feedback on form. And that's a product that skews very heavily towards the customer that hasn't strength trained before. And the more we learn about, fitness, the more we understand that strength training is super important. Especially as we age, for your bone density. It's not, I grew up in the cardio generation, right? It's let's get physical and sweat and run, but strength training is super important. And as we're seeing things like GLP-1 agnostics and the obesity injections, if you like, you're not just losing fat, you're losing muscle. And so strength training alongside a GLP-1 is important. So we see strength training as part of a weight loss program becoming a huge trend. And customers like Alter are, bringing products to market that suit that customer. And so, yeah, I think health, I think the last thing I would say is the worlds of fitness and health are kind of beginning to collide into one thing that gets talked about as wellness. We're recognizing that healthcare should look like fitness and fitness should look like healthcare.
Yeah,
exercise is medicine, right?
Oh yeah, and I'm fascinated by what I heard, because I would say a majority amount of people, like you said, gym intimidation, I can't say it, but gymtation, basically that's what it is. I want to go to the gym, and it's so weird because they're so motivated to go, and people go to the gym and they'll do it, but then it's the lack of, okay, well, it's a little too much, or you know what, these 6 a.m. wake ups are just not for me anymore. I can't do that. What I really loved and heard about what you were saying was the personal coaching aspect that Asensei, the AI, brings to you. Because I can go on YouTube and I can say, all right, give me a 15-minute workout. I can do this. But as I've noticed from my mom, who started doing some workouts years back when I started losing weight, she figured I need to do it. It took her 3, 4 times of seeing the video to get the movements down, to figure, okay, this is what they're doing. And from what I'm getting as far as AI goes, it's okay, this is how you do it. If you don't do it right, no, okay, do it this way, try this way, do this way. It actually helps you get to that point quicker. And that's what I loved about what you were saying on that aspect of the training part in fitness. That's where I can already see a lot of people benefiting on that, because I would say 20, 30 minutes of the time, you're trying to figure out what the exercise on YouTube is. And then, okay, it's like a dance routine. You've got to figure out, okay, I got to remember the steps. I got to remember the steps instead of the person on YouTube or Instagram Live or wherever understanding and thinking, okay, you've never done this before.
And you know,
How do
and
I expect you to do that?
we forget how broken it is. Like the model today is exactly the same as, you know, and for a lot of the audience are like Jane Wu, but the Jane Fonda workout video, go and Google the Jane Fonda workout
Yeah.
video from the 1980s.
Sweating to the oldies. I
And
use that
Nike,
one.
yeah, yeah. And Nike Training Club and Peloton, they're not that
Mhm.
different to the Jane Fonda experience. It's like coaches in the middle of the room, someone to the left that's not very good at what they're doing. So this is the modification for the beginner, the advanced star student on the right. And you are learning while doing. It's like, I'm going to stick you in an airplane and we're going to take off. And as we're taking off, I'm going to explain to you how the throttle works. And I'm going to, you know, so you're trying to learn at the same time as do.
Yeah.
And that's not what a real experience is. Like if you were to take a golf lesson, you're not going to go out and play 18 holes, right?
Mhm.
You're going to stand there in a driving range and you're going to be taught the setup position and how to hold the club and pitch forward here and like don't do a full swing, start with a quarter swing and like, okay, build it up to a half swing. Like now let's go to a full swing and I don't click off. And so you get taught the movement. And then once you've got some skills, you'll put them into action. It's like, let's do a little, you know, let's go and play 3 holes or let's go and play 1 hole together. And so this fitness experience of like, press play on the video and you're going to learn to do it as I'm doing it. You're totally right. You spend more of the time trying to figure out what you're doing on screen and you probably have to do the workout a few times. And so the kind of things that we're able to do is we'll set you up. You know, I can't tell you how many times as a karate coach I've said, okay, everybody, like forward stance, left leg forward. Nope, put your other left leg forward. Because the proprioception, you know, people's ability to look at somebody else doing something and then mirror it is actually very poor. Like
Yeah.
we're legends in our own mind when it comes to physical exercise. And so that ability to say, stand shoulder width, and the machine waits, the AI waits until it sees your feet shoulder width. Okay, good. Now, imagine somebody's pushing you in your back and just catch yourself on your left foot going forward. Okay, good. Now turn 45 degrees. Great. Now straighten your back leg. And so I can talk you into a forward stance. And now you don't feel like, am I doing what that person's doing? So yeah, it doesn't matter whether you're a high school kid, you know, trying to, you know, get better at a sport and get a scholarship in D1, you want to become a rowing, you know, you want to make crew, or you know, you're a first-time strength trainer who is part of a weight loss journey, knows you should be doing strength training, but you don't want to get hurt and you don't want to do it wrong. And so many use cases where if a machine can understand your movement, we've got you, and we'll take you from where you are to where you can be.
Yeah, and that's exactly what I was looking at too, is that factor right there. How you want to, it basically takes out the guessing of what to do, gets you squared away faster. That way you're not wasting time just trying to figure out the movements to do an exercise. Talking to Mr. Stephen Webster, CEO of Asensei, CEO and founder of Asensei, and we got a little bit more time here. We're extending this unplugged episode a little more. This is fascinating stuff, but
Awesome.
everything you get in the fitness world for Asensei and its AI training. I mean, we've already heard everything we talked about. A couple of things I wanted to point out and actually get with you on. One more is prior to Asensei. Now, I want to take the fitness and the workout side because I've already broke a sweat already just talking about that. I got my workout in the first part of the show, so we're going to talk a little entrepreneurship here. Prior to Asensei, I mean, you had sold a company. Your first company, I believe, was sold to Adobe. And then you said, you know what, I'm opening up Studio 415 with Microsoft, and this is kind of going to hit to the other crowd here that loves the Microsoft Connect and Xbox and all
Yeah.
this great stuff. I was the guy who bought the Nintendo Wii because I thought, oh, cool, I can get a workout playing tennis and bowling and all that
Right.
on the Wii. How great was that to work with Microsoft as far as like the Connect and the Xbox Fitness, Cortana? I mean, all this stuff went from, you know, playing regular video games to actually becoming closer to virtual reality at the time. I mean, now you've got goggles, you can go into virtual worlds, but being that close to virtual reality at the time, how was all that with you with my Studio 415?
Yeah, Studio 415. It was the San Francisco dialing code.
415, sorry.
Yeah. No, but we had Studio 415, and then we were opening Studio 212 in New York. And the idea of those studios, I'd been at Adobe, as you said, and Adobe, fantastic experience. I was working, I led the consulting, the design and technology groups inside of the consulting organization. So we worked with customers like the NFL and with Nike and, many others, not just in sport and fitness. And at Microsoft, I was kind of replicating that experience. I was kind of brought into Microsoft to build these studios where we have the best designers, the best industrial designers, data scientists, engineers, and we'll put you together with like our top customers, like the top 100 brands in the world. Let's help them reimagine what the future looks like on emerging technologies from Microsoft, right? So
Yeah.
The guys that invented Connect, I can go for a beer with, Abby and Rudy and Ammon, and I got to know this team that was living in this future of, we called it from GUI to NUI, from graphical user interfaces to natural user interfaces, where we didn't need a screen or a keyboard or a mouse as much as we could just talk to the machine and it would talk back, or we could move and gesture and it would understand what we were doing. It would blur us, Logitech camera here. Can I stop my camera and start again? Just, yeah. What?
Yeah, you'll be okay. It's not a problem.
Yeah. All right. Yeah. Sometimes it's
yeah, you should be okay.
All right. I'll just so I got to work with So I got to work with the team that was inventing Microsoft Connect and HoloLens at the time. And actually one of my final customers at Microsoft was Gatorade, and Gatorade were working with athletes to sponsor Xbox Fitness and have workouts on Xbox Fitness. I don't know if you remember Xbox Fitness, but that was using the Connect for working out. So I mean, definitely, I'd already decided I was going to start Asensei at that time. But that was the tipping point for me of like, all the technologies exist today that we can start to deliver these kinds of experiences.
Yeah, and that's what we wanted to get into with the technology part for Xbox Connect, because Microsoft Connect, Xbox Fitness, I mean, a lot of that stuff right there, I mean, it basically got people off the couch, off the gaming chairs, and into the game itself. We're talking to Mr. Stephen Webster, CEO and founder of Asensei. Before we let you go, Mr. Webster, first and foremost, appreciate you joining us. I got one last question before we let you go here, and it's basically this. It involves everything from being a technologist and an entrepreneur. But what key lessons have you learned from founding companies and leading the teams as well in those companies? What have you learned from those lessons, and what lessons can you provide to somebody out there who's thinking, what, I have these ideas, I just got to make them happen?
One of the very early meeting, this is a story that would take another 30 minutes, but the summary is, with barely a demo that worked, I found myself with 2 days notice on a plane to Michigan to meet with Jim Harbaugh, who had just left the 49ers to start coaching Michigan football. And I had an opportunity just like, come to Michigan and show the team what you're working on. And so I immersed myself on the plane in the lore of the Wolverines, right? And it was the famous Michigan coach saying, the team. It's a great speech. If you've not seen it, look it up on YouTube, like the team. And I think that's the thing I've learned more than anything else, as a martial arts coach and as an entrepreneur, and even as an entrepreneur. I use the phrase entrepreneur as someone that works in a company like Microsoft or Adobe, but it's kind of building this team that's like, who are these guys and what do they do? Like, we've got some special mission that's going on. And it's all about the team. You have to surround yourself with people who you're not trying to talk into the vision. Because listen, here we are 10 years later. Asensei's 10 in a week. December 4th will be our, that's our 10-year incorporation day. For 8 of those 10 years, I've spent more time having people tell me why it's not going to work than why it is going to work, why it doesn't need to be a thing than why it should be a thing. And so, you can be distracted surrounding yourself with the naysayers and the people that want to tell you why this is going to be too hard, or you should be doing it differently, or I don't know who's going to want to use this. Instead, I think you have to find the people that want to be part of the quest, that coalition of the willing, the people that want to will this future that you've got them excited about. And so they want to be part of willing that into existence. Yeah. If you can find that team, And if you can keep that team small, I think that's the other mistake a lot of entrepreneurs make is let's go and hire, raise a ton of money and build a big team. And it's like, no, yeah, you need like everybody, for the first, 7 or 8 years, we've all had 2 or 3 different jobs in the company, right? We've had the thing that we're there for, and we've got the things that we can help with. And so I think, there's lots you could unpack about what makes how do you turn a vision into reality, but it comes down to the people. I think if you can really just put a good team around you, that's what I learned to do on the mat at Emory University Karate Club. I learned to build an unorthodox team that was completely committed to the way that we were going to practice karate, that was utterly different to how the world practiced karate. And we let the results speak for themselves. 10 national championships in a row, and people stopped arguing about whether what we were doing was the way you should teach karate. And guess what? That's how everybody else started teaching karate as well. Like, we left our fingerprints on the sport. And I feel the same about Asensei. Is we're leaving our fingerprints on this like small corner of digital health and fitness, which is movement recognition is important. That's now acknowledged. And I'll finish by saying I was in a meeting recently with one of the largest fitness equipment suppliers in the world, and their agency, their consultancy, who brought us in to meet them. The consultancy opened the meeting with, Asensei is not just a great opportunity, it's a necessary opportunity. It's the price of admission. And so there will not be a fitness product in the world that you'll be using that won't be powered by some form of movement recognition, so that it's not a Jane Fonda workout video, but it's an AI coach in your ear that understands your every move.
I think we're gonna have to get a Richard Simmons Sweating to the Oldies or a Jane Fonda video cassette and just give it to a lucky subscriber out there. That way they can understand. Because a lot of the kids are here listen to the show, and you tell them that. Hell, they don't know what a VHS is. I used to live on VHS tapes, but we were talking to Mr. Stephen Webster, CEO, founder of Asensei, and again, Asensei is it's already revolutionizes. It's already just making waves in the world of fitness, sports, everything you can imagine. And I know Mr. Webster said it was like a small piece of the corner, but it's actually a bigger piece right now. It's gonna innovate everything. It's gonna make everything happen for the world. And I just want to ask now, Mr. Webster, before we end this episode of Sweep Unplugged, I'd love to have you back on, because there's a lot more to unlock when it comes to everything that you're talking about. We probably just scratched the surface. We have a whole lot more we can get into. So I really appreciate you joining us this morning, and look forward to talking to you again.
Sounds great. And apologies, my camera's so blurry. This is what it looks like for me at 7 a.m.
Yeah, basically this is the before coffee for you guys out
there.
Exactly.
So.
Appreciate Mr. Webster joining us here on Sweep Unplugged. So again, be sure to go to our YouTube page. You can catch this interview. You can catch all of our Sweep Unplugged, also Sweep the League TV interviews. Looking forward to having Mr. Webster again. But go to our YouTube page. Click search Sweep the League TV, be a subscriber so you can get all the great interviews, all the great prizes we're giving away. We recently gave away a Mike Tyson autographed glove, so we're giving away a whole bunch of stuff as well. But again, appreciate you joining us, Mr. Webster, and look forward to talking to you again, sir.
Awesome. Good to see you.
Yeah, that is Mr. Stephen Webster, CEO and founder of Asensei. I'm Rudy Campos Jr. Be sure to subscribe to our channel, Sweep the League TV on YouTube. Be a sub there, get a chance to win all these great giveaways and prizes. So until we sweep the league again, we'll see everybody later.